Here's a test almost nobody writes, and it bites teams hard. Your service emits telemetry, traces, spans, and metrics. Your dashboards read them. Your alerts fire on them. Your service-level objectives are measured from them. So what happens when a refactor quietly drops a span or renames a metrics dimension? Nothing crashes. You just go blind. No error, no red test, just dashboards that stop telling the truth. Telemetry is an output of your service, and outputs deserve tests. Let's make spans and metrics assertable. 3 things to hold in mind. First, spans and metrics are genuine outputs of your service, not debug noise. Your traces drive your dashboards, your metrics drive your alerts, and your SLOs, your latency and reliability budgets, are computed directly from those metrics. Second, when telemetry breaks, nothing throws. There's no exception, no failing assertion. You simply lose visibility quietly, and you find out during an incident when the graph you needed is flat. And third, the fix. The OpenTelemetry SDK ships an in-memory exporter. In a test, you point it at your service's telemetry, exercise an operation, and the spans and metrics land in a list you can assert on. Telemetry stops being write-only. Start with the span. Trellis.Mediator pipeline opens an activity for every command on an activity source named Trellis.Mediator. So in a test, we build an in-memory tracer that listens to exactly that source, and we wire its in-memory exporter to collect into a list. Then we send a CreateToDoCommand, force a flush, and there's our span, named for the command, CreateToDoCommand. We assert it exists, and that its status is okay, because the pipeline tags the span from the result. Now, if someone deletes that tracing behavior, or the span gets renamed, this test goes red, and your distributed tracing is protected by a unit test. Now the metric, the one your SLO is built on. Trellis's service level indicator middleware records a histogram called operation.duration in milliseconds on a meter named Trellis.SLI. So we wire an in-memory meter provider to that meter, drive a real request through the app, flush, and pull out the operation duration histogram. We assert it was emitted, that it's a histogram, and the part that really matters, that it carries its dimensions, the operation, the status code, whatever your SLO slices by. Because an SLO that's broken down by route is worthless if the route dimension silently disappears. This test guarantees the data your reliability budget depends on actually shows up, correctly labeled. One important nuance about SLOs. It's tempting to assert a real latency budget right here. P99 under 50 milliseconds. Don't. A unit test runs on whatever box CI gave you. Measure wall clock time, and you've built a flaky test that goes red because the machine was busy, not because your code regressed. Instead, assert the signal, the right instrument name, the right dimensions, so the budget can actually be computed in production. Then hold the real P99 where timing is meaningful, a dedicated load or performance test, or an alert on the live metric. Test that the meter is correct here. Enforce the budget where the clock is real. So here's the checklist for telemetry you can trust. Assert that the command span is emitted with the right name and status, so your traces survive a refactor. Assert that the SLI metric and its dimensions exist, so your SLO always has the data it's computed from. And assert the signal, not the stopwatch. Never a wall clock budget in a unit test. Hold the real latency target in a performance test or a production alert, where the clock actually means something. Telemetry is the difference between knowing your service is healthy and hoping it is, and a handful of these tests keep that knowledge honest. That's how you test observability. Capture spans and metrics with the OpenTelemetry in-memory exporter. Assert the command span and the SLI duration metric with its dimensions. Improve the signals your dashboards and SLOs depend on actually get emitted, without ever asserting a flaky wall clock time. Almost nobody writes these tests, and almost everybody wishes they had, the day a refactor blinds their monitoring. Next time, we leave in-memory behind and test data for real, a true Postgres database with test containers. Subscribe, and I'll see you there.